It really came down to them just being real. Like when you going through this process, every coach in the country is going to tell you what you want to hear. You're going to play year one. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. That's not at Michigan. They tell you the truth. They say, you come in here, you work hard, you got a chance to start. You don't come in here and work hard, you're going to sit the bench. And that's really what I wanted to hear. I don't want nobody sugarcoating nothing from me. I don't want that sweet. I just want to hear the truth.
Oh, yeah. Welcome in on this Thursday. Happy holidays. Maize and Blue Review. Good afternoon, Michigan football. That was Jason Hewlett Jr., one of the 23 signees for 2023. A lot of nice things going on with Michigan football. You know that, and this is one of them, this show, talking about Michigan football. There's no shortage of things to get into and talk about with the Wolverines. And, you know, we're the day after National Signing Day, early edition on the 21st. And Michigan went out there and rang the bell a number of times and had some National Signing Day surprises. We were sitting here late in the show yesterday speculating if Michigan was going to get a corner that didn't have him on his top 5 final list, and yet we still were thinking that there was a possibility there. And if you were a member of the Maize and Blue, you thought it was even more of a stronger possibility. I don't know. Even though that I was being told, like, it's still looking pretty good. I'm like, really? It's really looking good? I mean, here's a guy that's telling everybody that he's, you know, and you go around the block enough times, and I'm thinking, you know, this guy just might be telling everybody, you know, what they want to hear, and yet he's putting things out there on his social media. But and it turned out great for Michigan, and we're going to be getting. I'll be giving you my reaction to yesterday's class, but I want yours. It's the kind of show it is where we go out there and we see what the people are thinking, and I'll refresh your memory, but I want to know just easily, you know, when you think about yesterday, which one of these guys is your favorites. We'll tell you how Michigan did yesterday with the rankings, and then we will look to see what's in store for 24, and that is next year's recruiting class. Although you still have, and everybody, you know, I talk like this, and if you're not familiar with, like, wait a second, yeah, 24 next year, but then there's still the National Signing Day, the late signing period, or the original signing period on February 1st, that first Wednesday of February. But everybody is up to speed on all that, you know, so you guys know that. And there still might be a surprise or two, a flip or 3 heading up to February the 1st. Michigan's still in on some guys. And I got to tell you, you know, if I was going to ask you the question on, you know, who's the one that got away, or who's the one that you really wanted, that's not the same answer for me. The one that got away, I mean, I was all summer long, if you've been watching this, I dedicated a lot of time and energy towards a local product from Detroit, a quarterback, in Dante Moore. I really wanted Michigan to get him. I mean, he was going to be like the highest rated quarterback ever. He's, you know, right in Michigan's backyard, and quarterback, the hardest position to recruit. And yet, you know, Michigan was in on him, and, you know, since, I don't know, I was getting 7th grade or something, Michigan was in on him. You know, he was the apple of the Wolverine's eye, and then it didn't happen. And so that's the one that got away. But still, there's, you know, I asked Santa Claus for a 5-star, you know, after all that with Dante Moore. I was putting my wish list together, and I said, you know, I really wish that Michigan could get a 5-star in this class. You always want, you know, like the jewel of the class. Last year was Will Johnson, local product, and look at how Will Johnson turned out. Will Johnson is great. Let me just pause for a second, have a Will Johnson appreciation of the season that he had, appreciation moment. Great job, young man. You know, he came in and he was everything that you would want him to be. You know, he was the jewel of the class. He was the highest rated recruit in all of the Big Ten and almost in the country. And he lived up to all of it. And, you know, he's going to be a big factor in the college football playoffs. Can't wait. He's wearing the number 2. He deserves the number 2. He earned it. And then the year before, the jewel of the class was none other than J.J. McCarthy. And can we also stop for just 1 second and appreciate J.J. McCarthy? J.J. McCarthy went out, and I have to admit, the passing game, certainly the downfield passing game. How many times did I say that leading up to the Ohio State game? I was thinking, I said it, saying that I was hiding anything. I was saying, that's a concern. Michigan hasn't really been able to get it going. They weren't able to connect. I was thinking, I thought it was in their heads. I thought it was in the receivers' heads. I thought JJ was pressing. I wasn't ready. I didn't think it was, in baseball, they call it the thing, and in golf, they call it the yips, where just, things that you can kind of do routine. And yet there was a really good second baseman for the Dodgers named Steve Sachs. And, the ball would come to him and he just had to throw it over the first base. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't throw it over the first. He would sail it into the stands. And, there's a lot of Knobloch, Ankiel. There was a ton of those guys, that had the thing. And in golf, it happens. They call it the yips when your putter, little 3-foot putt, boom, it goes blowing past. I wasn't quite ready to go there with JJ, but man, the performance that he turned in against Ohio State was iconic and everything that you could possibly want. So let me get back to, I could sit here and get up off topic really quick, but I'm asking you about your favorite recruit from this class out of the 23 players. And sure enough, I haven't given you mine yet. I've gone off and talked about the one that got away or the one that I still want. I haven't even answered my own question. And that's not good when you're running a show. You ask a question, you want to ask the question and answer the question. You don't want to go off and start splintering off and do 100 other things. But I've done it. That's the way it goes. And that's just where it's at right now. But who is your favorite out of the 23? You say, I don't know about all those guys. Well, I put the list up here. You can look at them pretty quick. Well, I do tell you that we are going to be here tomorrow, and it's going to be a special show, a Christmas show, a Michigan Christmas show. I will be playing the part of Claus, and we'll be handing out gifts. And I got a nice Christmas question for you. Carmelo, who? There he is, right up at the top. Michigan's Carmelo English. He was a signing day special. Oh yeah, there was Jyaire Hill. He was the one that put out the IG that didn't have Michigan in his 5. Hayden Moore, DJ Waller out of Youngstown. I like that kid. Trey Pierce, Roderick Pierce. Michigan closed and got a lot of good players. I mean, if you just look at where we're at right now on this list, Carmelo, Jyaire, the 2 kids from Youngstown, Roderick Pierce, a defensive tackle, Cameron Calhoun, another outstanding corner. Michigan late really heated up. They got hot in recruiting where we were sitting around in June thinking, wow, man, is Michigan going to finish in the top 50? Yes, they were. And, they end up at 17. Eno Etta. That was, remember, it was right around July 1st. They got Etta, and then the next day they got, who was that guy's name? Collins Champong, and it was like, all right, Michigan's going now. Champong ended up flipping and going to Miami a while back. Amir Herring, the local product out of West Bloomfield, a couple teammates, 2 kids from Youngstown, and then you got Amir Herring, and you also have Samaj Morgan, teammates at West Bloomfield, and then you have 2 Samajes. Has Michigan ever had 2 Samajes in their class? I'm going to say no. Bridgman and Morgan, those guys. And then the guy that kicked it all off for the Wolverines, Samaha, the River Rat out of Ann Arbor, Huron. So there it is. Which guy do you like the most? So what did you think of the class? Let's take some of the feedback and get to it and start talking about it a little bit. We have Jason, he's giving a holiday cheer out. I'm all for, pleasantries. And this time of year, I'm definitely for Christmas messages. Afternoon all. Hope this message finds you and yours doing well. Being a veteran, Jason is a veteran. If you know one, reach out to them this holiday season. It's the hardest time for us, to be honest. Love you all. Well, Jason, thank you so much for your sacrifice and your service. And I will do exactly what you are talking about. I will make sure that I reach out to uh, my two favorite veterans, that I have their numbers, and I will make sure that I do that. And it's because of you, Jason, because I don't necessarily think that I would have been sending Stover or Murray a message, but I will now. Richard, who's down there in Georgia, he's just chilling in the warm weather down there. He's giving out the pleasantries as well, just like Venice. Venice is good to go. Richard saying, I got yesterday. Yeah, well, when it comes down to my favorite recruit in this class, it was there were two, and then I sent a few messages out trying to get some guys on signing day. A lot of stuff going on, and but the one that did come on was one of the two that I thought, this guy's going to be my favorite of the class, just for whatever. And it is this guy, Jason Hewlett Jr., who you heard there at the beginning of the show. And Hewlett Jr. couldn't have been any more impressive listening to him talk. I watched a little bit of his film as well, and that's impressive. And I'll do a little bit more of that. They got the tape on everybody now. You look at him, and it is, it's one of these things. Like, I was thinking about this myself a little bit earlier, Richard, that when I was in high school, and I was in a big high school, and a little small high school, it was like, it's not as, whatever the classification was back in the day in the 80s, it was, called 4A, I think. It was the biggest high school you can get. But we didn't have one football player or basketball player that went Division I. Or we had one that went Division I. We had one linebacker that was a year ahead of me that went to Eastern. But we didn't have anybody that went to the Big Ten. And we certainly didn't have anybody that went to Michigan. And, and then down through the years, like, if you've ever been wherever you were at, if it's somebody locally, and if he's good enough where he's being recruited by a team in the Big Ten, or specifically Michigan, like everybody, this guy's like the superstar of all superstars. And you just think of that. And in Hewlett, you listen to him talk, and you're immediately drawn to him. I've talked to recruits for a long time, going back when I used to work in Ann Arbor. Originally, it was one of these things. I can remember the first signing day special. We did it out at the old band fields on the west side, Jackson and Zeeb Road, and we had a rib cook-off outside, and somebody came around. It must have been I don't know, and gave me. I was going to say somebody from the coaching staff. It might have been. I don't know specifically who it was, but he gave me an old cassette tape. And, it was 95 on it. And, we had our signing day special out there at Banfields, and we put the cassette tape in, and we just played it on a loop. It was like 45 minutes, and everybody was just, looking at the video. Now, that was a very good class for Michigan, because what I remember about the 95 cassette tape? There was a running back from Detroit named Clarence Williams. And, we nicknamed him the Blur because he had this outstanding speed. I think he went to Cass Tech. So that's where his nickname came from. They had a quarterback in a class named Tom Brady, who's, a kid from California. He had some of his video there. He's like, the kid looks pocket passer, doesn't look too shabby. Then there was this running back, defensive back out of Fremont, Ohio. And you're watching the tape, him a running back. He's like, wow, this guy looks good. His name was Woodson, Charles Woodson. He was incredible. But here's the point. Like, all of these guys are incredible. Like, these guys are like the most incredible, the very cream of the crop. And, Michigan, all 23 of these guys, the backstories on all of them, these guys, any of the community that they're coming from, they're all superstars. And, everybody's looking at him like this guy is going to be the next great thing because they are the greatest, since sliced bread where they're coming from. So, and then, Michigan was able to get their fair share yesterday. But you're right, Richard, that is my guy, at least as we sit here right now, Hewlett Jr. I liked him. Richard likes the corner. The corner, you're going to have to be a little bit more specific when it comes down to the corner because you're talking about Jyaire Hill because he is a corner. And some of these athletes could be corners too, but Cam Calhoun, I think he's a corner as well. So there's 2 corners. Let me see. I was just going to look to see if there's any more corners. 2 for sure. So you're talking about Hill or Calhoun, although Calhoun is just listed as a DB, so maybe he would be a safety. Venice is saying, don't worry about who we didn't get. Let's worry about who we got. There you go. There you go, Venice. Words to the wise. Richard saying, I saw another service say Michigan is number 1 in the portal. Let's go, Richard. It's good to see some of those other services coming up and doing something and doing their part, Come on. Will Johnson deserves his flowers. So does Mason Graham. Flowers. All right. We'll throw those bouquets his way. Only 74 down there in Georgia. Huh? Andre's -20 wind chills forecasted in Cincy tomorrow. Whoa. Is that how cold it's supposed to get up here in Michigan too? The one thing about this this front that's coming through, it's like it's coming through from the UP, down to Cincinnati. There's no chance it's going to miss. Like some of those storms of yesteryear, you talk about snowmageddon and everything, you'd end up getting 2 inches, and everybody's like, yeah, well, up in Clare, Michigan, they got 6 inches, and so, but this is like, there's no chance that this one is going to miss, and this one is cutting a swath across the entire Midwest and Canada, so it's going to happen. 20. It's what is going to be. Logan is in on Evan Link and Amir Herring. Look like the perfect fits. Yeah, for the offensive line, I'm with you there. All Youngstown guys are special. There you go, Richard. Etta is going to be that dude. Andres is most excited about the edge transfer from Coastal. Would love to see how he develops in Ann Arbor. All right, that was a little bit off the page, but I get what you're saying. I'm asking you, about signing day, but it was just a day or two before that Michigan was able to get the Coastal Carolina player Josiah Stewart that you're looking at. So, RP3 does look like the real deal. No doubt about that. Let's see where Andres is at with his favorite recruit. My confidence, GMC in Cincy has produced many college guys. Ishmael is from that conference, as was Eric All. Ryan Kelly, Jordan Hicks went to my high school and are currently in the league. Yeah, pretty good players there too. So you're saying Ishmael, there he is on the screen. Breelon Ishmael, 6'5", 204 out of Cincy, an athlete. Yeah, we talked about him yesterday. That's 6'5", 204. Just like the just Cincinnati, it's good, playing a tough conference in Ohio. And Richard likes Jyaire. Florida coming in. This was worse. This is Michigan's worst recruiting class in some time, considering there's no JJ, there's no Edwards, there's no Moore, Hutchinson, Dax Hill, Will Johnson, guys that actually decide football games. Well, not so fast, Florida. It's interesting that you put Hutchinson on the list there because Hutchinson was a part of that 2018 class that was ranked worse than this class. And sure enough, there's no 5 stars. And but the 2018 class, the one that was figured prominently in Michigan's success over the last 2 years, it is, maybe I'll have to do it. Let's just do that as a little bit of an exercise here. Let's see if I'm able to do it. What did I say? The 2018 class? Just see if I can go ahead and pop it up here while we're talking. And Florida, you're right. Like, I want the number one class. I like recruiting national championships. I want Michigan to be in the top 5, certainly the top 10. So 17, yeah, what kind of party do you want me to throw for Michigan? But if you've been listening in Florida, I don't remember seeing you on here a lot. I told you what this is all about, Florida. If Michigan didn't have a wobble class in Jim Harbaugh's tenure, you might be a little bit worried. If Michigan had not had the success on the field that they had right now, which translate into Jim Harbaugh being able to pick and choose and do whatever he wants in terms of the power with Michigan. Like, I'll use an example of Juwan Howard. Michigan basketball team's not playing really well right now. They're likely not going to make the tournament. And I already saw it last night. I was looking on Twitter, and there's a bunch of rivals, just people across the country ripping on Juwan Howard because late in the game, Juwan wanted a replay from, I think it was Terrence Howard was trying to throw the ball, and he wanted a replay. And so he was mad at the official that he couldn't get the replay. And he was, cussing him out and everything else. You watch enough basketball, almost every game you see a coach acting crazy and screaming, been being a little restrained by the players. But Juwan doesn't have that luxury after what happened against Maryland and Turgeon a couple of years ago, where he was running around the court. Then certainly last year, what happened in the handshake line. And so all of these people like Juwan, Howard doesn't have any, he doesn't have any goodwill. Like, people are going to be all over him. And what's going to happen are people are going to turn on him. The Michigan fans are going to start turning on him. And there'll be a lot of them that'll happen this year. And, enough of the cooler heads will prevail and say, look, you're not getting rid of Juwan Howard after this year. That's ridiculous. You can criticize them and you can say, hey, things aren't looking like you thought and you're supposed to make the tournament and all those things. And my point is here with Jim Harbaugh is Harbaugh right now, when it comes to Michigan, he has everything at his disposal. Michigan's got, you may have heard, the academics, everything with the stadium, the uniforms. And the only thing, and now Michigan has beaten Ohio State. Now they're going back to the college football playoffs. The only thing that Michigan doesn't have is the willingness to give upfront money, signing bonuses to the top players. And we all know this. And half of the people on here would say, no, we don't want to stoop down to an Oklahoma and USC and, half of the other top 25 teams and give upfront money. Half of the Michigan fans don't want that to happen. But are there going to be ways to get around that, to, get somebody else without, but you're getting the blessing of Michigan, but you're basically getting a bag man, but he's not really endorsed by Michigan? There's a lot of ways to get around that. And I think Jim Harbaugh, with the power that he has, will be able to do that, Florida. So you should be nothing but ecstatic about what Michigan's doing everywhere. And if you want to be a little bit of a nervous Nelly when it comes down to name, image, and likeness, there's about another half dozen schools that you would say that are blue blood type football programs that are on the same boat, and fans are looking at it like, we got to start giving our money to these recruits. You're going to be the same way. But because of the stature of Harbaugh in Michigan right now, I think you should give him a break. And I'm not somebody that's normally just sitting back and saying, look, let's all just chill out. Like, let's be intense. Let's look and expect for the best. But, this Florida, you're talking about, Michigan's class and everything else. And let's bring up that old 2018 class. It's worth taking a look at. All right, so this was a terrible class. It finished in the top 24. Michigan finished 17th this year. Could you imagine 4 years ago sitting around doing this show? Everybody's like, this thing's over. Michigan sucks. Their recruiting class blows. Michael Barrett, right off the top, 3-star linebacker, starter all year long for Michigan. Great job. Vincent Gray, corner, 3-star, started half of the games in a Big Ten title team last year. Julius Welshoff, he played for Michigan this year, was in the rotation on the defensive line. and contributed the last 2 years to a Big Ten championship. So right off the bat, Florida, there's 3 guys. Let's go to the 2-star out of Kansas City, Missouri, Ronnie Bell. Boom! Ronnie Bell. He did as much or more than any 5-star in that class. Ben Van Sumeren took off and went to state, I think. Taylor Upshaw, 3-star defensive end, had a pick against Ohio State late in the game. Look, this class blows. And yet, nothing but contributors from the 2018 class, Florida. Let's keep going. Here's another 3-star. Hassan Haskins didn't really have the speed. It really didn't work out. Hassan Haskins was great. Scored 5 touchdowns last year against Ohio State. Set the single-season record for touchdowns. Florida. Mustafa Muhammad should have stayed around. Sammy Foston should have done the same thing. Cam McGrone, he just left early. He was a good player. Here's another 3-star. Tight end, big kid out of Connecticut. Big deal. Luke Schoonmaker. Yeah, Florida, he sucks. Ryan Hayes. Pillar at left tackle for the Wolverines. You guys are great offensive lineman. A little 3-star. Jalen Mayfield, he was on last year's team, was a starter out there at right tackle. He was a 4-star. Okay, there's the first 4-star that we're talking about. Well, I wish Michigan could get more guys like Joe frickin' Milton. Looked like Tarzan, played like Jane. The Green brothers. Great set of brothers there in Jymon Green. Jymon Green doesn't get enough credit. I love that guy. I love his personality, and I like his play. Jymon and Jermon Green coming from the Lone Star State. Christian Turner, running back, didn't work out. I always liked him, though. Miles Sims, here's a 4-star DB. Michigan needed more of those. I don't remember what happened. I don't even remember Miles Sims being on the team. And here's the 4-star. They got him because he was local. Hutchinson. I mean, are you kidding me? I hope, and like I'll just say it again. I want all 5-stars. I want a class like Georgia or like Alabama got yesterday. I was looking at Alabama's class. I mean, it was an incredible class. I want Alabama's class. But I want a 2018 class with this 23 class. And if it's like that, Michigan's going to be good. So, yeah. Go ahead. Rip them. Rip them, Florida. Florida might have left the chat. Let's see. He gone. I think he can't come back. Yeah, he is the worst recruiting class in some time. Just a couple of years. Florida, you got to go all the way back to 2018. Ayo Ko knows. He's a future podcast star. Go ahead and get those predictions in right now. Sometimes you can just tell. I think he's got the, I think he wants to do it. Ayo, you should get on Twitter. And then when you're on there, tell me, and I'll pump up Twitter Spaces, and you can come on, or you can come on video-wise. Get that podcast career going. Come on here. Then I can go back and say, you know what? I had Ayo Ko when he was just starting, a fledgling broadcaster. Account 22 doesn't want us to sleep on Florida. Don't sleep on Cole Cabana, Florida. Yeah. I'm a little biased. I'll say it for the, a 10th time probably in the last 2 months. I'm biased about Cabana. I live in the village of Dexter, and I have for the past 12 years. My wife's one of her best friends. Her son's on the team. On Dexter. He's a dreadnought. My wife's cousin, her son who just graduated, who's friends with half of the football team, and they're all going every game. They were in the in the stands, and they're sending pictures, and everybody was just so into it. The entire community, as they just kept going on, in the States. I mean, it was a dream. And Cabana was front and center out of all of it. What a player. So yeah, I'm with you, account 22. It's great. Andres, Juwan antics don't bother me. I'm bothered by his inability to maximize the output of his players. Yeah, well, I hear you on that. Hunter Dickinson was great as a freshman, and he was pretty good as a sophomore, but he is so far, if he would be playing like he is now as a freshman, and then he played like he did last year, and then played like he was a freshman this year, he'd be saying, look at this guy. But that hasn't happened. Kobe Buffkin's played a little bit better. And they're in a tough spot with Doug McDaniel, who's been forced into action, but I like him. Heading into the year, I thought I liked Dickinson and I liked Jyaire Howard after I watched him play a couple games, but I didn't think Terrence Williams, the second was a starter on like a team that you feel like is going to finish in the top 4 in the Big Ten and can do something in the NCAA tournament. I felt the same thing about Buffkin and Llewellyn watching them. That's 3 guys out of your starting lineup, 60% of your starting lineup that, if those 3 guys were coming off the bench, it might feel a little bit better, but that's the spot that they were in. Since then, they've lost Llewellyn. Buffkin taking a step forward. Llewellyn's out for the year, and TW2 is taking a step back. They're not really getting a whole hell of a lot from the bench either. I'm going to be patient when it comes to the basketball team for a couple of reasons. One is that I think Juwan is a good recruiter, and that's a big deal when it comes to basketball. Number 2, the 2020 season when Michigan won the Big Ten, Hunter Dickinson's freshman year, that was one of the most entertaining Michigan basketball seasons ever. And, you can't live off that forever, but I like a lot of what I saw there from the assistants, the whole thing, camaraderie with the team, the way he ran the program. Loved it from Juwan Howard. Now, I think that name, image, and likeness, especially in basketball, where most of these guys are coming in, they're one and done, they're out, that how are you supposed to recruit in the era of name, image, and likeness where every team, they're even giving up before basketball's dirtier than football. So you don't think like the kid Collier, he wanted to come to Michigan. But he's like, I got guys offering me $1 million out at USC. What can you guys offer? And Juwan's like, well, if you come into Michigan, he's going to take the $1 million. You would too. So he's in a tough spot. Hopefully, with what football is able to do, and admissions, I think might be a positive because no offense to Joey Baker. I mean, he hit a couple buckets last night, hit a couple jumpers. That was nice, but he's not like it's a surprise. You watch him play and you think he should be giving a little bit more. But Michigan had, they had the kid that went to Illinois, Terrence Shannon, the lefty junior, Terrence Shannon Jr. They had him, but he was like, the admissions came back and said, the 30 credits that you have and that you gained at Texas Tech, you can have 2 of those. And he's like, 2? What? 3. Okay. Maybe admissions is bending a little bit now, and Michigan will be able to go out there and recruit. And maybe with the success that the football program's having and the push that Harbaugh will make, well, them figuring out name, image, and likeness, it will affect the basketball program. That's why I'm being patient. But criticize them if you want. Let's just not go overboard on it. And, this isn't overboard, Andres. You're bothered, about the guys not progressing. That's fair. I'm not sitting here on every move saying, oh, no, he's untouchable. Let's not talk about, no, you can talk about it. Here's the coach. It's good to see him in. Antoine, make sure you're going to be on tomorrow's show because I thought of you as I was making my list as Santa Claus, as I'll be giving gifts out to the people. I've got a gift for you, and if you're not going to, be on the show, that's not going to be much fun. But here the coach is saying he told us that he felt good about the corner, even though he was trolling. Him going to Purdue didn't make any sense. No, you did know, Antoine. I don't know how you know. I don't know how you know all these things. Let me give you an early Christmas present, Antoine. I want to give Antoine the gift of combination routes for Michigan wide receivers next year. And I don't know how he knew that Jyaire Hill was going to, pledge for Michigan tomorrow or yesterday at 4:00, but he did know. We'll be watching some of these video on the players. I've only watched my guy so far, and that's Jason Hewlett Jr. out of Youngstown. I watched 2 minutes of his tape, and I'm like, like I said earlier, you watch the tape, all these guys are great. And, like the greatest in their community ever produced and all of that. And so it's no surprise when you put on the highlight reel tape and you're like, wow, look at this guy. But, Hewlett, he played a bunch of different positions. If you went to a game and we're just sitting in the stands, this guy immediately, he's flashing. He's like, he's out there as a wide receiver, high pointing the ball. He's got two guys on him. He's going up, snatching it away from him. He's on defense. The ball goes up in the air. He's, ball hawking it, grabbing it, and, going in and scoring. You're like, who's this guy? He's pretty good is what it comes down to. Sammy. You're right, Antoine. I do need to start listening to you a little bit more. I think that's fair. It's a fair point. Andres says there is a more tactful way of recruiting than just hanging out. Money. Providing avenues for players to make legitimate money on campus via incentives. There you go, Andres. You've been thinking about it a little bit. I'm with you. That's smart. You're talking. I have been looking at his film, Antoine. Travis, how about this point? Let's consider this particular point that Travis is bringing to the feedback. And let's read it. I'm going to read it nice and slow so everybody can digest what Travis has said here. All right, ready? Travis says, it sounds like Corum wants to come back. Would be huge and would probably make more money at Michigan than the NFL. Whoa, Travis, let's put a little star next to that one. And let's hit that screenshot. Smile. I don't do a good job on them. Let me just do it. All right. While I'm talking, I'll put it out there. I took a couple screenshots. Travis, did Corum say that he was 50-50? He did. What I wish would happen, and this is, I'm going to get to Corum. I'm going to spend a minute or two on this. Corum will get drafted, so he has to declare or not declare. What I wish would happen is that everybody could declare. And then if they don't get picked, have the option of going back. Like you couldn't say, like, let's just say for Corum, I think Corum will get picked in the second or third round. Maybe he would fall to the fourth, but let's say he did fall to the fourth. And he would be like, no, I want to go back to school. The team that's drafted him, I'd be like, wait, unless they were able to keep his rights, they could do something like that. They do that in hockey. Maybe they could do something like that in football. No, that's not going to happen. And I know of free agents after the draft, like, the 100 or so players that would get drafted in like let's say 8th, 9th, or 10th round if they had that. Those guys all get free agent, and those are huge. You always see there's at least a half dozen, probably even more than that, probably 10, maybe even a dozen players that, like, in particular, the Lions will go out and they'll sign to, a free agent deal, and they'll come into training camp and they'll use them. And, some of those guys end up, making the team. Not only making the team, some of them go out and, end up being stars. But if Corum gets taken in the second round, Michigan, that's like, I was looking at Kenneth Walker, the kind of deal that he has. Michigan's not giving, Blake Corum $6 million. That's kind of the guaranteed cash that Kenneth Walker got. But, if you start looking at the third round and you start looking at, $3 million, could Blake Corum coming back as a third rounder, could that be something? I think what it will come down to is Blake Corum going out and, he can't do it right now. But can he go out and can he get that 40 time? Like with that knee, if he goes out and runs and runs like a 4.6, he's not going to get taken in the second round. He might not get taken in the third round. But I don't know. 4.6 sounds pretty slow. Like if he's not going to run a 4.4, but if he could get in the 4.5 range, I think, second or third rounder. There's a chance. Hell, there's a chance that he could play in the national championship game. A small chance. And I would also put it, I know he said 50-50. I would also put it as a small chance that he comes back. The idea is, sure, he could make some money, name, image, and likeness, but is he going to improve his 40 time? I mean, like, so was he going to win the Heisman next year? And, so then a team is going to take him in the second round. He's probably going to get taken where he's going to get taken any way it goes. So I hate to say, give him my advice, like, hey, you should probably just go, because I would like Blake Corum to come back. But I think that if I had to guess as I talk it through, he gone. Adam Thompson, Cole Cabana, running back U. Yeah, I like Cole Cabana too. 23 tails. Cole Cabana is a slot receiver that plays running back. The 3-star is a better runner. Cabana is a home run hitter in space. Going to be good. They sound like you're talking about Donovan Edwards, who is also who said it? Was it Ron Bellamy? That if they put Donovan Edwards as a slot receiver, he'd be the best slot receiver on the team. And like the same thing with Cabana. I want to see Cabana race Edwards. And you're talking about Benjamin Hall, the other running back that account 22 is so high on. Let's see where he recruited or committed pretty early. Oh, I'm looking over here. I'm like, look at all these guys. This is the coveted 2018 class that Florida hated so much. He hated how Michigan ended up 24, and I did too. I want to make it sound like I like that class. You could go back and watch it. I'd have been over there crying about the 23 class. I would have been. Oh, this team, Harbaugh is not going to be able to get it done. Let's see, there's Carmelo, the real Carmelo. Get down here and look at that running back really quick. Where is he? Where's Benjamin Hall, sorry. Kennesaw, Georgia, 5'11", 220. He was up for account 22. It was documented. I think he moved up to be a 4-star and then ended up, he was a 3-star, went up to a 4-star, then they moved him back down to a 3-star. But we'll see about him. Yeah, I like him as a short yardage back. Count 22, my guy. Cabana is a sub 10.5, 100 meters guy. 10.5. Yeah, he's fast. AOKO. Harbaugh is known to develop those Richard Sherman long, lengthy athletic DBs that are raw and not highly rated. I'm thinking of some of those long, lanky. Michigan's had some good DBs with Harbaugh. Jordan Lewis, one of my favorites, and that iconic catch against Wisconsin at 14-7. He went out, snagged that one. One of my favorite catches of all time. Travis wants us all to imagine. Imagine all these people. Imagine Edwards and Corum and Cabana. No, I can't imagine it. Imagine Edwards and Cabana. I can imagine that. CCE? Yeah, it's fun to think about. I don't want to throw any cold water on anybody that, is dreaming of Corum coming back. Andre's talking about Richard Sherman being a low 3-star. Richard Sherman was a wide receiver. A low 3-star wide receiver, and then they moved him around to DB, and his 40 times were low, or I should say high. I mean, what did he run, like a 4.7? I mean, something crazy. And, he got picked. I think you guys could go back and check, but Sherman, wherever he was taken, or in the 4th or 5th round, the Seahawks used a pick that they got from the Lions in a trade to take Richard Sherman. LOB, Legion of Boom. Account 22, Cabana is slept on because he is white. Well, there's not a whole hell of a lot of white running backs. So at least nowadays, so I get that. I feel like I have a bell sitting around here in the studio somewhere. I feel like I need to get the maybe the Cabana bell out. And every time somebody compares him, or I compare him to Christian McCaffrey, we ring the bell. I'm looking for the bell. I know the studio needs to be cleaned up. Dexter isn't a powerhouse in high school football until they made it to the semifinals this year. Oh, you're right. Hey, yo. Let's see if I can say this right. My father-in-law has passed away. My wife's father. He was the most improved player on the 1963 Dexter team, which was the last Dexter team to, I don't know, were they the last Dexter team to beat Chelsea? Like Chelsea had beat them 50 years in a row, or maybe not 50. No, that's about 50. It's more than 50. Could they have really lost that many times to? They hadn't won the league since 63. Or no, they weren't undefeated since 63. But I think it's something crazy like that, like with Chelsea. Like they hadn't beaten them in 50 years, and all of that. Cabana was a big part of it. There were a couple people running into obviously a lot of people, around a Dexter. And I would say, what do you think of Cabana? And some people ooh, fast, quick, they'd say that. And then some people a little bit of a ball hog. And, that's interesting in football to be a ball hog. I'm like, I don't know. They hand it off to him too many times. It's like saying, call my number. If I'm the coach, that's what I was telling this one guy. I was calling him a ball hog. I said, if he's running for 12, 15 yards, 50, 80, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 20 yards per catch, 10 yards per carry. I'm going to call his number a lot. Yeah, I think he's a little bit of a ball hog. All right. Okay. Sam, we ran Florida off. He trolled, and he's off to the Red Cedar. Yeah, no, you're right. He is. Let's get to a couple other things here while we're looking at this year's class, I want to tell everybody if you want to know about next year's class. And if you're thinking, oh, what am I going to buy? That Michigan fan of my life with the snowstorm and this blizzard coming our way. Well, I've got the answer for you right now. I found a Santa Claus, and he's not wearing Ohio State colors. He's wearing Michigan colors. And he's saying, give the gift of the Maize and Blue Review this holiday season. Ho, ho, ho. Go to michigan.rivals.com, and you can know everything about Michigan this holiday season. Get premium access for a full year for $22. Use the code MBR Holiday. That is MBR Holiday. You know, I enjoyed interviewing Jason Hewlett yesterday. I have a list of my 4 favorite football players that I interviewed all time. I liked talking with all of these guys. One, Sam Sword, played on the 97 team. 2-time captain Jared Irons. David Bass was an offensive lineman who went on, played for the 49ers, played in the NFL for a minute. And then Larry Stevens, defensive end out of Washington. I'm going to say something about all of these guys. Stevens had the great personality from the very first day I met him and talking with him. He was just a great person to ask any question. You really didn't know where he was going with the answer. He just had a lot of fun with it from the first day of asking him a question. David Bass, I liked because as you would talk with him, right now I'm on video, and it would be interesting what he was like on video, but I would talk with him and it would be on radio. And he would answer the questions, and he would start saying things like he would say something like, "Yeah, we're gonna take it one play at a time. We're not really looking ahead," But he was like making fun of it, like, "Yeah, we are looking ahead. We're expecting, like, how do you think you're going to do against Michigan State, David?" And he would say, "Well, we're not really." Thinking about expectations. And then he would start shaking his head like, "Oh, yeah, we are. But we think it's going to be a real close game." He would act like he was laughing. And, I would just be sitting there. I'm like, this guy's the comedian. So I like David Bass. Jared Irons, 2-time captain. He's one of my favorite players of all time. I can't say enough about him. He's a pro. He taught me a lot about football. Great guy and great player. And then Sam Sword. Sam Sword was, ended up being a coach and everything for Michigan. But when he was a player, I would walk up to Sam Sword and, you get to know the different players. And I always wanted to go to Sam Sword to ask him about the upcoming game. And I'd say, "Sam, I just love how you're able to put it all together and talk about your opponent. And in radio, you you hear the audio and sometimes they're a little bit too long." And Sam Sword had the ability to talk in like 12 to 15 second clips, which is perfect for radio. And you would say, and here would be an example, and you could throw anything you wanted at Sam Sword and he'd be able to answer it. And you'd listen to it. He said, "That's the greatest audio ever." For example, you'd say, "Sam, what's going to be your guys' approach against Ohio State?" Sam would say something like, "It's going to be an all-out war. The team that punches first is going to win. We'll wear them down, and we expect to tenderize them. And by the fourth quarter, we will exert our will, and we'll be victorious." And I would just be standing there like, "Whoa, this guy's the greatest of all time." And it was every question you asked Sam Sword was that way. I loved him. He reminds me of, it's a weird comparison, but there was a hockey player for Michigan. You probably all have heard, or for the Red Wings, named Nick Lidstrom, the greatest defenseman of all time. One of them, greatest hockey player of all time. But they called him the perfect human. He never made any mistakes on the ice, but he was like Sam Sword in the dressing room as well. Because anything you asked Nick Lidstrom, he would put it into 12 to 15 second clips, and he would tell you everything that you wanted to know, and you would just walk away just like mesmerized. Hey, Nick, what do you think about the upcoming game against the Blackhawks? Their front six, we're going to have to really make sure we get the puck deep, because if we don't want to put them on the power play. And we're just going to have to really shoot high on their goaltender. And we're going to make sure that we hit on all those points in practice coming up. And you just sit around, you'd be standing there with a microphone. You'd be like, wow, this guy is the greatest. And he actually was. Sam Swart, Nick Lidstrom. Great interviews. All of that. Okay, what are we getting to next? Let's answer some of the questions about where this team ended up ranking after yesterday's output. Rivals had Michigan in the team rankings all the way up to number 17. I looked at some other sites and sources, and 3 other teams' rankings were just like right there with Michigan. There was one that had them at 17, one had them at 18, another at 18. So everybody's kind of thinking the same thing when it came down to ranking Michigan's 23 class. Michigan's highest ranked player they were able to get yesterday out of Alabama, and it is Carmelo English, the wide receiver. And how about Michigan getting a 4-star? And wide receiver, a team that's known to just run the ball. That's their identity. Their highest ranked player, a wide receiver. I found that interesting myself. What about, before we get to some more feedback, what's in store for 24? Well, I'm glad you asked what's in store for 24. Here's a couple things just to keep in mind as we sit here on the 22nd. We get ready for Christmas. Coming up on Sunday, Michigan already has 4 players committed for next year. The Hulk Hogan, tight end out of Washington, 4-star. Luke Hamilton on the offensive line, good size already. Look at him, 6'6", 290, 4-star. Manuel Biego, he is a defensive tackle. He is out of Germany. Who knows? You know, I haven't watched any film. We'll know a little bit more about him as the weeks, certainly the months unfold. And then a linebacker out of Nashville, Mason Curtis. Good size, 6'3", 185. He is a 4-star. So they have done well so far. Thinking about some of the players that Michigan wants for next year. They certainly want Jaden Davis. We all know that. The quarterback out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Providence Day. He is ranked number 7 overall as any position, number 7 overall. There's another quarterback who is ranked at number 59 overall. If Michigan, for some reason, it doesn't happen with Jaden Davis, MVB could be Michigan's MVP. Michael Van Buren, he's out of Baltimore. You think about some of the connections that Michigan had at St. Francis that could happen. Biff Poggi, I believe, was the coach there for a long time. So Michigan has inroads there. Keep an eye on that. In-state 2 players, BDS, West Bloomfield, defensive end, Brandon Davis Swain, number 28 overall. And at number 70, I think Michigan's going to get this guy, Brady Priestcorn. He's a tight end. Michigan is tight end U, Priestcorn. I don't put forecast in or anything else, but I feel like he's going to be in the maize and blue. Don't you? Why wouldn't he be? I mean, come on. Let's get to some of the feedback. I got to get out and drive. I hope it hasn't started snowing yet out there. Let's see what people are saying. If you're 3rd string on your high school team, I don't know how you make it at U of M. Oh, that's Venice was down on Hall. I don't know, Venice. How did Barry Sanders make it? He was 2nd string at Oklahoma State for 2 years, I think. That guy's never going to be able to come anything. Maybe those guys in front of him are really good. I don't know. I mean, it's a good point. I hear you. Yeah, I mean, like, we're going to see what ends up happening with Hall. Antoine suggests, Venice, that you stop looking at their rankings. Watch the video. 23 is saying he's got good vision. Venice still talking about Hall. Jesse talking about Corum running a 4.4. Venom says, Venice, sorry. Nice place, Venice. You know, you get the gondola, you got the Rialto Bridge. You've got, what else do you like there? Oh, St. Mark's Square. You got the Basilica that you go up, you go to the church, and the floor is kind of like, if you're watching, you see how my hands are going, the floor is all messed up because the waves of the Adriatic Sea there have screwed with the floor in Venice there. But you go up to that first, a very underappreciated spot there in Venice is that first floor that you can go up, and it overlooks St. Mark's Square. You get all the pigeons flying around. You get all you get the Doge's Palace over there. I mean, it is, and then people don't talk about that. Venice, I don't understand. You know, they're talking about Don Juan and, you know, the Doge's Palace, which looks great and everything else, and the gondolas, of course. But that first in the Basilica that overlooks the square, I mean, that's the place to be. Very underrated. Desmond. People would like Cabana more if he was black. Ring the bell. Not as rare, white corners. The only ones that have white as their last name. Who was that? The Giants had, I don't know. Stoke doesn't look that fast. White chocolate. All right. It's not. I'm going for less of the account like my ball hog story, or he's laughing at it anyways. I think this is a good point by Mark. You don't need to be a speedster to be a running back. You need to be shifty, make people miss, or just power over people. Facts. I know the NFL, they like, the NFL is going to like Donovan Edwards. You know, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and then he's got like the straight line speed. He's got speed all over the place. I mean, he's great. They love guys like Donovan Edwards, home run hitters, flash, splash plays like that. But yeah. What did Emmitt Smith run? He was no 4.4 guy. I don't even know if he was a 4.5 guy, but he was like 4.6. But he'd run you over. I'll have to tell them. There was more than one person. I'll have to tell them. I was a little bit nicer about that, Andres, when people told me about Cabana. Richard likes the ability of Harbaugh to develop the 2 and 3 stars. I hear you. 23 Tails is going. He's on my Christmas. We share a Christmas wish. I feel like maybe we can get into like maybe a little movie production 23 where you and I could put together some kind of story for our wish for the Christmas season is beyond the new year. It goes into February. In fact, February 1st. And it is the wish of Nichols Harbor committing to Michigan. And if he wants to play wide receiver, come on in. You can play wide receiver. But if you want to be like first overall pick in the NFL draft, maybe you should be outside linebacker in the Minter Klink defense. Jesse Minter, Steve Clinksdale be like, you know, you can be a great wide receiver. Harbor, Nichols Harbor. But you can be the number 1 overall pick playing outside linebacker, defensive end for Michigan. What do you want to do? You could be in the kind of the color of the day. He could be Nick Harbor could be the black Aiden Hutchinson. All right. Let's tell everybody about tomorrow. It's going to be the Christmas show. Good afternoon, Michigan football, Christmas 22 holiday show. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope everybody is here tomorrow. We'll have some great Christmas cheer, take you into the weekend. Until then,